Okay, so thanks everyone for joining in. I really appreciate you taking out 30 minutes to learn more about Salesforce org documentation. The webinar today is going to be more interactive. I'll start with a few slides to introduce you to the topic of org documentation and kind of convey its importance. Followed by doing a live demo of Flashlight. I know some of you have already downloaded and installed it. Thanks a lot for doing that. And for others who have not, I'll recommend you do that after the webinar so that you can apply some of the learnings from the webinar today and kind of test it out in your own environment. And yes, whenever you have any question, please post them in the chat window, and I'll try to answer them towards the end. So all right, let's get started. I think everyone on the call today, would agree that Salesforce makes our life simpler. It's a great platform. It keeps improving with each release. Gives us a lot of flexibility to customize and deliver on business requirements. And what happens is this ease and flexibility, keeps us on the innovation journey always. We are always thinking about what should we do next, or how can we streamline our processes, kind of map them on Salesforce and get more visibility, or just regular improvements on existing deployments. And all of this makes an admin's life more and more interesting, or sometimes even complicated. So from the day we start using Salesforce, we are always on this journey of building new things, updating existing customizations, or even deleting the ones that are no longer needed. Now, this looks good on paper, but do we really follow this cycle every time? Maybe in some cases, but I think in a lot of cases, we take the simplest route, and this happens because we are working at the speed of lightning. We get a lot of business requests, we are time bound, and yes, deleting something is not always fun. It can break things. And most importantly, it is tough, it is time consuming, to identify such customizations. And the same goes with even updating customizations. It is not the easiest thing to do. And let's say if a new social media platform comes up, and now the business team wants you to add that to the lead source field, and it's a field that you have not built yourself, someone in your team 10 years ago built it, there is no documentation for it, and it's probably connected to 10 other customizations. So how much time do you think it will take for you to study all of this, take internal approvals, and then finally make that change? Maybe hours, days, or even in some cases, probably weeks, right? So what we end up with, which is the easiest thing to do, is just build newer standalone customizations. And building frequently without considering deletion of old customizations is generally not called as a best practice. It leads to technical debt. It leads to making your org more complex. You have cases where you have 50 fields on the opportunity page, out of which only 20 or less sometimes are being used by your teams. And it kind of makes it very difficult for users to adopt, or even difficult for the development, or even difficult for development teams to actually scale on it. And all of this kind of adds back to the maintenance cost of the platform. And what we are trying to do with Flashlight is make you fall in love with updating and deleting customizations. Make this process extremely simple, quick, and safer. And with this in mind, let's quickly look at what we mean by documentation, and then we will jump into the demo. So by definition, it is a single source of truth of your org setup. And when I say setup, it means all your configuration, their dependencies, and record of all past changes you have made in your org. It is also important to note that this is not a document that's just made once, let's say when you implemented the tool, but it is a live record that should be, always up to date. We should be working on it. Our teams should be working on it. And a lot of people that we speak to always have this challenge around creating and maintaining this documentation over time. they try to build it on Excel sheets or Google sites, or even, sometimes using custom objects. And, at this point, I think we all would agree that having documentation in place makes our life easier, right? It reduces your change planning and change research time drastically. If you are moving out of a new role or coming into a new role, your transition becomes simpler. Or if you have an audit coming up, it really helps you answer questions around, change tracking. It helps you answer questions around change risk, and you can answer all of these questions with ease. Now, I mentioned in my last slide on how time bound we are when it comes to delivering on business requirements. And we are making changes at lightning speed, and updating documentation in general is considered a pain. We at Strongpoint feel that this is not something that you should be spending your valuable time on. There should be a tool to automatically help you do that, a tool that's always looking at how your org is changing and automatically making a note of it. And for this reason, we built Flashlight. It is our entry-level tool, currently free for 6 months, and helps with many use cases like impact analysis, cleanup, all of these kind of centered around the core org documentation concept. We also have advanced tools, to help you with change management, change tracking, deployment, and environment compare. These are sometimes more suited for ITGC or SOX requirements, but again, we have seen customers from different segments, using our tools, overall. Now, with this baseline, I'll switch my screen and show you a quick demo of the tool. And if you have Flashlight installed, and provided you have a second screen, you can pull up Flashlight in your own org, and you can click through on functionalities along with me. So first thing first, we are a native managed bundle. We are built for both Lightning and Classic. Once you install, the first step that is recommended is to use the Getting Started wizard. This will guide you on how to kick off the metadata scanners, which is primary. And based on the complexity of your org, the scanning process could generally take between 3 to 5 days. The first step is to identify all the customizations. And the second step that our scanner takes is to create junctions between all these customizations, which we also call it as dependencies. And just to add here, the tool is very robust. It is built to work with orgs of any size, small or even highly complex. Our largest customer has over 40,000 users. Their org is 90% custom made, fully built on the platform, and not using standard sales or service apps. Our user guide will, it's also available in the support tab, and it covers everything that you need to set up and use Flashlight effectively. For everyone on the call, you can please make a note of that. And this could be a useful resource for you, to really manage Flashlight later on. Now, currently we are on the home screen. This is a place where you can access all the tools. Some of the tools I'll touch upon today in my demo. You can also look at all the reports that we provide. On the left, you can see the scanner status. It currently says as done, which means our scanners have completed their documentation and they're not running currently. If they were running, the status would generally show as running or in progress. You also have an option to manually scan. Just click this button and the scanners will run, as you have given them an action to run. In the center, you will see a list of customizations that have changed in the past. In my demo account, I don't have this view because nothing has changed, but what you will see is all customizations that have changed, categorized by type, and it is given so that the moment you log in, you have a good view for yourself, and you can monitor what's changing in your org, every time you log in. Now, the first thing that I'm going to show you today is the status report. And this is one way to validate if our tool has documented everything. You again have a quick status scanner, a quick overview. You can see if any of the scanners are running currently. You can again take an action to stop them or stop them. And if I scroll a little down, you can see some quick high-level stats of the documentation. So what it tells me here is I have 3,682 customizations, and there are about 11,000 odd dependencies. These are the dependencies or joins between different customizations, and there's some more information around reports, list views, and other joins. If I scroll a little down, I can see further details about each metadata that I have in my system. And if I just take an example of a custom field and a custom object, it tells me the total count of customization and the actual count our scanner has picked. And this could be a quick way for you to verify whether our scanners have captured everything correctly or not. Because generally what we have seen, people have a count of their number of custom objects, and in some cases even custom fields. So yeah, this could be a quick check. Now, from here, let's get on to some core functionalities. And the first thing that I'll show you is our dependency relationship diagram, which is also called as a DRD. A DRD gives you dependency analysis by object. You have a list of all standard and custom objects that you've built in your org. As an example, I'll take one of our favorite objects of all time. I'll take an example of account. And if I click on this, what Strongpoint or what Flashlight will show us is a list of all custom and standard fields that sit on the object currently. And as I click through any one of them, I can see downstream dependencies. So as an example, if I want to investigate on the company social media field, I can click on it. What I see on high level is some metadata information. So who is the owner? It's a multi-pick list, and it was last used on so-and-so date. If I look on the right-hand side, I can see what it is connected to. So it's available in few layouts, it's connected to a report, and it's also visible in a list view. And the dependencies just don't stop here. You can keep clicking and reviewing further downstream dependencies. So as an example, this report probably has these fields as either columns or filters, right? So a quick snapshot or a quick analysis of this field tells me that this is not a very risky change, and I can honestly go into the system and add a new pick list item very easily. And it will not break anything, which is very important. If I scroll down a little and take another example over here, this looks to be a very similar field, in terms of the metadata type. It's a multi-pick list, probably it's owned by the same person, similar date last use. But if I look at the dependencies now, I see some new items here. There are a bunch of reports, list views, but I also see some risky dependencies. I see it's connected to an Apex class. I see it's connected to workflow rules and an approval process. And if I scroll a little down, it's also available in a few layouts. Now, if I compared this with my previous analysis, I can definitely say this is a more risky change. It would require some more investigation. I can keep digging down and I can see further dependencies, but yes, if I want to make a change, I need to be very sure of not breaking anything that it's connected to, right? So what we just did here was review dependencies by fields, to really determine kind of what it is connected to and whether it is safe to make a change or not. And in a scenario where you do not have a maintained documentation or a tool like Flashlight, this analysis by itself could take a lot of time. And if I have 2 or more people in my team doing this analysis, there are chances that they both will arrive or will conclude on different results, because we are all humans, right? We can make errors, or we can even miss out on something. So a tool, in such a situation like Flashlight will always show us the same results, irrespective of, if it's me using it or you using it, right? Now, another way for you to look at the same result, but a bit of a different use case, is by using our Finder tool. Now, our Finder tool is an easy way to look at all customization records that Strongpoint has created for you. And you can filter these customization records by type, which is kind of all metadata type, which is mentioned here. You can filter it by who created it. You can filter it by a date range, or in case if you want to do a similar analysis like we did on the DRD, but you don't know which object that field sits on, I can type in the text or the API name of the field here, and I can click find. So what it shows me that I have two maintenance type fields. One is lying on the account object, the other one is on the repair object. And if I want to investigate on this field, I can click on it, and it takes me to an individual customization record that Strongpoint has created. And these records are also created as part of the initial scan. What I see over here is, again, a small quick overview. I can see all related objects. If I want to just rescan this specific customization, I can do it over here. I can even update the description and head text, by just clicking this button, or I can just double click here to edit it. This also shows me the DRD now, but this DRD is just for this customization. I can see the raw data of the customization right here. And if I switch on to the metadata, I can see some additional information. I can see the date last used. I can see the date on which it was last modified, who created it, who modified it. I can also see some usage statistics. These are very important when you're planning a cleanup initiative, and I'll show that to you, in a couple of tabs from now, as to how we use all this information and make it more logical for you, so that you can run your own cleanup initiative. But yes, this is more or less some additional information available on the customization record. Now, one final way to review dependencies is by using customization impact report. As we run native, and I mentioned this a lot of times in my customer discussions, we can really take advantage of the amazing reporting capability of Salesforce. And this is an example of a report which is grouped by different customization types. And what it provides me is this grouping, list of all customizations, and it tells me dependencies. It tells me the date last used of those customizations. And it's not as intuitive as the DRD, but a lot of our customers use this when they want to export such details into an Excel sheet, or in some cases, if they're working on a project that has a bunch of impacting customizations, and they want to review all of them together, they can actually create a very similar report and review all dependencies of that specific project together. Very, very easy to edit. Just like any Salesforce report, you can add more filters and you can add more columns based on the data that we collect. Now, the next thing is our export object functionality. It is an easier way to review system access, by role, by permission, and by user. And what you can do is extract a report and review individual access, very finer details, and I can do this by object, by profile or permission set, or by user. So as an example, to run an export by object, what I will do is I will select and pick few objects. So I'll just go by, some of the top objects that we all use. And those are account, opportunity, and lead. And what you can do further down is add more settings that has to be exported. I've already pre-selected custom fields, standard fields, formula fields, but you can even add record type, pick list values, buttons, so that you get a more holistic view of the system access. You can even choose few profiles that you want to compare. So let's add system admin. Let's add read-only. Let's add a standard user. And let's also add a marketing user. You can also choose permission sets if you want to include them. And what you have to do is just download it. And within a few seconds or minutes, Strongpoint will send a downloaded report, to your email, so that you can, access it. And this is how the report looks. If I go to summary, I can see what the report consists of, or probably what filters I chose. Each tab gives me, details by object. So if I click on account, I can see all my fields. I can see additional information of API name, its data type, its exact length, whether it's required or not, pick list values in case it is a pick list, helpline text. And then if I scroll a little towards the right, I can see my complete permissions, by profile that I've selected, whether it's read, edit, and even, I can do the same for lead. I can do the same for an opportunity. So super useful. Um, a lot of our customers love it, for doing any access review or even for role cleanups. And the last thing on my list is cleanup. You can use our pre-built reports, just like this, to identify any unused fields. And as an example, in this report, I've again categorized or grouped this report by different objects. So this shows me this grouping. So it shows me account has, the standard object of account has around 37 fields, and these are the fields. It shows me some more additional information, the date last used, whether it's populated or not. And by using this information, I can plan my cleanup project. But what we also recommend is to look at dependencies before you actually delete them. And this is where we differentiate a lot, because we are just not tracking whether that field is used or not, right? We also have a lot of informative, details around dependencies. And what you can do, you can add additional columns of dependencies, and then this report becomes your final report, which can tell you whether this field is used or not, or whether there are any critical dependencies. And once you analyze it, you can kind of identify your top candidates, for cleanup. Another tool is our automated report cleanup. You can build your own rule. You can put a name, a short description, and use our basic and advanced filters. We also have a bunch of pre-selected, pre-existing filters, and then you can set up your own details, like, the date last used should be 6 months. You can select if you want to only archive reports by specific owners, whether they are active or inactive, or by roles. So we provide you all these, additional components. You can even exclude by specific owners, so you can add them in, and you can mention them that, don't pick reports by these owners. And what we also allow you to do is, when you run this rule, it runs automatically, and you can define the frequency. And with this checkbox, you can notify report owners prior to any archival, and they will have an option to actually opt out from the cleanup initiative. So more or less, this was a complete overview of some of our thoughts around documentation, why it is important, and how you can actually use Flashlight, to really uncover metadata information, get more visibility, slow down your change research process, make it actually a little more faster, or make it more safer. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now. So I have a question, around change logs, and around how frequently or whether the scanners run automatically. So Flashlight by default, provides you to run your scanners by yourself. So the first scan you do happens completely automatically, right? And every time you want to rescan, you can come on the home screen and you can press this tiny button, or you can actually just rescan a specific customization. So it's still a manual scan, but then our other advanced tools comes with, full automated scanning. You can define a specific period, and then our tools will run, accordingly. The next question is whether it captures change logs. Very interesting. Changelog functionality is part of our Strongpoint offering, but what we provide you within Flashlight is Let me open that view. What you can actually see is the view is not visible on my home screen, but every time you log in, you can see any updates to customizations. So you can at least identify which customizations are changing, right? This is one way to do that. Other way is to click on customizations, and let me see if I have that list view open up. So you can create a list view here, which shows you, all customizations by last modified date. I think if I hit on all customizations, it should still have a column here. Yeah. So you can just filter it by the latest modified date, and at least you will have a list of customizations which were recently changed. You will also know who made the change. But if you want an exact log of what was changed, then that capability is part of our advanced documentation tool, which is part of the Strongpoint offering. But from a basic standpoint, I think this is good. I think we have a couple of more questions. Where is the data stored? Okay, since we run natively, it's on Salesforce. We are not extracting any data. It's within your org, it's within your instance. This is the best part of having a native tool. You don't have to manage a separate application. You don't have to worry about security settings, because we kind of rely back on the core security and configurations that Salesforce provides. So nothing is going out of your own org. We just occupy some more very tiny space to build all the customizations and their dependencies. I will wait for some more time if there are any further questions, but otherwise we are kind of on time. It's 2:30. I think there is something else. No, that's it. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. As I said, really appreciate you taking out the 30 minutes. And once you go back to your desktops or your machines, then please install Flashlight and kind of go through some of the things we discussed. We will also send you a copy of the recording so that you can watch it at your own pace. And don't forget about using the user guide. That's the best place for any guidance around how to set it up or what each functionalities mean. So yes, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you enjoy using the tool.